Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS current affair analysis for 16th October 2020, and these are the articles we'll be dealing today. The first article for the day is taken from the Hindu and it is titled "The Message in the Peace Nobel is Multilateralism." Now, what is the meaning of this multilateralism? So, multilateralism simply means that all the countries should work together rather than in silos to deal with the problems across the world. Now, when we're talking about the problems which are relevant to all the countries, they are generally called global commons. So, some of them also include Antarctica, climate change, space, etc. Now, in the parlance of international politics, multilateralism is very significant given the fact that till 1990s there was a Cold War marked by both US and USSR, and then we had a unipolar world which is driven by US, and since 2008 there has been a multipolar or a world order which is characterized by multiple countries, so it is called a multipolar world. In the backdrop of this recognition that the world has moved towards a multipolar world order, the world has been grappling with new sort of problems, especially financial problems. The COVID pandemic has only accentuated these problems caused by the multilateral world, and as a reaction to this multilateral world between the various countries, and especially because of the nationalistic tendencies of countries like US, driven by the president Donald Trump, wherein he propagates an idea called America First. So, the basic agenda of this narrative is to ensure that Americans get the priority when we are talking about jobs. But sometimes, when we are taking economic decisions, in the longer run, trade will be much more beneficial. However, myopic policies have always focused on hypernationalism, and there is a trend of retreat of this idea of multilateralism. So, reversing that trend, there should be certain recognition for the importance for the comeback of multilateralism. So, this Nobel Peace Prize, which was announced for the Food and Agricultural Organization and the World Food Programme, is a recognition that in order to find solutions for global level problems like hunger and poverty, it requires intervention from all the stakeholders involved in all the countries. That is the emphasis that we are bringing back to multilateralism. If we take a look at the functioning of the World Food Programme, to which Nobel Committee has decided to give the Nobel Peace Prize this time, one of the major reasons for its limited success is because it did not get enough money. It is severely underfunded. Now, in a time like COVID, naturally every country is too concerned about its own safety and security. But what multilateralism can ensure is security of the individuals will be ensured when they don't have enough resources. Now, because of the globalization, COVID has reached almost every nation. So, the natural reaction for this would be to disengage with the multilateral institutions and expect a trend of deglobalization, because that would prevent another pandemic. But that is a false narrative. It should not be the way forward, because unless and until we have globalization, it is simply not possible to solve the problems together. So, multilateralism is the only way forward. Now, this globalization did indeed create a world of haves and have nots and accentuated the differences. But the solution for that is not to completely deglobalize. The solution lies in creation of a rules based world order. Now, what happens because of rules based world order? We have seen in the case of the World Food Programme. We have seen that UN is still a very important fulcrum to hold the fabric of international relations. Now, when an organization like FAO and the World Food Programme are actually backed by UN, it is quite natural to expect some sort of solidarity and a common ground to understand this issue, especially in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals. There have been certain discouraging reports that because of the pandemic, we might be missing the targets of 2030. This has always been the case, even when we are talking about the Millennium Development Goals, which started in the year 2000. all the targets were still not reached. But it doesn't mean that this exercise was futile. When we're talking about issues like infant mortality rate or maternal mortality rate, almost on a global level, we have seen certain success. The reason why we had this success is because we worked together, not because we were divided. So, if you want to take all that gains back, we have to deglobalize. Definitely, deglobalization is never the answer. Then, what happens if a pandemic like COVID strikes again? So, even for this also, the answer lies in the fact that we have to stay united. For example, the COVAX facility of World Health Organization, which tries to mobilize funds for vaccine creation and ensuring the distribution of vaccine, is underfunded at this moment. So, pandemic has proven a point that if we don't care about our fellow human beings, you might be affected as well. So this is a sort of a poetic reminder that one should care for his fellow human being. One has to realize the importance of that fact that prevention cannot be achieved through force, only through cooperation, and that is why multilateralism is very important. So this theme is very important even for your essay paper, and especially those who have PSI or optional can handle this very well. However, the students who do not have the optional, retreat of multilateralism and the importance of multilateralism is a very important topic for essay. So please focus on that. This article is titled Dealing with a Deluge. So this is in the context of the flood situation in Hyderabad. So what happened on October 13th is that there was a rainfall of 192 mm. When you compare this with the monthly average of 103.66 mm for October every year, 192 mm of rainfall in a single day is a huge amount. So a deep monsoon depression which started in the west central Bay of Bengal and moved over Telangana resulted in this downpour. What happened is life came to a standstill in a city like Hyderabad, which is claimed to be one of the biggest cities in country which has decent infrastructure. But weather patterns like this have raised serious concerns about the infrastructural facilities that are available for making life simple in a city like Hyderabad. So this article should be seen in the context of the challenge between the nature and urbanization. One major factor that we have to understand while studying the impact of weather patterns like this on people is population density, which is a very important parameter when we are talking about urban trends. So if a large number of people stay in a very small space, it indicates population density. So when a rapid urbanization happens, especially by burying the wetlands, when rainfalls like this occur, there is no space for water to drain, and that is the reason why the floodplains have these inundation on which the present apartments and other residential complexes are constructed. So it's obvious that the catchment areas of these wetlands would be inundated with the flood water, and since the buildings are in the way, they get inundated with a lot of water. So this is the basic funda. So what should be done to understand the problems associated with this and how to come up with a solution? That is the agenda of this article. If we take a look at the damage, most of it was because of the overflowing lakes. Now city has a lot of lakes, and one of the most important one is the Hussain Sagar Lake, which is right in the middle of the city. So breaching of stormwater drains was responsible for the damage, and the overflowing of lakes have severely devastated the downward areas. Now construction of lake beds and intrusion of drainage channels have been identified as the problems. This is not a unique problem to Hyderabad. This has been the case with Chennai as well. Even in Chennai in 2015, when the floods have hit the city, the report of various committees have come up which showed that the encroachments of drainage channels as the main reason. Even Hyderabad had a similar flood situation way back in August 2000. Geological Survey of India has actually come up with a report to understand the reasons, and they've identified certain choke points. Choke points are those areas which are more likely to get inundated with water because they are constructed on floodplains, and unless and until we decongest these choke points, it is simply impossible to bring life back to normal. Even though a few steps were taken with respect to this survey, but the main idea that we should not be encroaching the wetlands has totally been ignored by the urban planning authorities. So that is again the main reason. So an analysis for the Hyderabad city by the Center for Science and Environment in 2016, when another similar situation happened, it revealed that as much as 3,245 hectares of water bodies were lost in Hyderabad since 1989 to 2001. So you can imagine the kind of effect it will have on the urban planners, because they are severely constrained with resources and they don't have the data about the hydrological flow of water resources in that region. So in the long term, the effect of flooding due to these kind of deluges can only be reduced if urban planners take into account the hydroecology of the region. Now, unless and until we do something about this, this is more likely to repeat elsewhere as well. So the most important takeaway is area of wetlands should not be touched, because if we have to use an analogy, wetlands are like a sponge that would absorb the water. So unless and until we have these wetlands, it's simply not sustainable for having any sort of an urban setup. That is the takeaway from this article.